So today on the hiring room, I'm super excited. I've got a colleague of mine, Jeanine Stewart, who is joining us today. And she's a doctor. She's a PhD. So she's, to me, she's like a whole other level of brains that I don't know anything about, but she's awesome. And so, Janine, thanks for coming today. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy lady, so I really appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Renee. It's really fun to do this.
Yeah. So, just a little bit of a backstory. We actually met. I'm going to plug Ken Yarmash here for us. We
There.
actually met this year through an entrepreneurial group, I guess we should call it that, called The Club. And it's headed by a coach who's done a number of exits, since technology and systems pretty well. And I think we all had joined there to learn different techniques to build a business. So, solopreneurs is the group of individuals that's attracted to this type of setting. And Jeanine and I just met in the group, and she was just, I don't know, she was just very gracious and kind. And we had a conversation. We kind of stayed in touch, and we tried to network together and things like that. That's how we met. And how has the club been doing for you, by the way? We haven't really caught up on that.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since we spoke. I have really enjoyed the club. So I guess we'll just do a little pitch for KY.
Why
For those
not?
for those who have not encountered Ken Yarmish yet, he's the real deal. And I have found it really helpful. I think one of the things, this is going to tie to what we're talking about today. I think
Okay.
one of the things that's really critical for building any functional work group is being able to build the team and have
Yeah.
that team connect with one another and sort of engage naturally together. And Ken is masterful at that. He's also brilliant, but it's not all dependent on him delivering wisdom from on high. It's the group of people that he pulls together that's been so useful for me,
Yeah.
beneficial.
Yeah, he bills it as he calls it the club, right? He bills it to
Yeah.
kind of support each other. I mean, he's got amazing experience. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing, I
Yeah,
mean, he's
for sure.
super successful. He's figured it out. He's stayed relevant. I mean, it's pretty impressive what he's done. I can appreciate that. So let's talk about you. I was looking at your background, and you've spent a lot of time in academia. I mean, you spent, right? A
Yeah.
lot of your initial, I don't know how many years. How many years were you in academia?
I was in academia for decades.
Decades.
Yeah, that's
So,
where I grew up professionally.
yeah, and so in that in that world, like what was your role in that world? Like, what were you
Mhm.
doing?
I'm a neuroscientist by training, and I was a college professor for many years. I was a tenured full professor. So I had that experience of teaching amazing, brilliant young people who just loved neuroscience. I loved watching people fall in love with the content. And
Yeah.
then after doing that for many years, I became a dean and a provost. So I was a chief academic officer
Wow.
and did that for about a decade.
And what
And
school was
then
that?
actually,
Were you at
I
one school or
I was at more than one,
okay.
and I spent most of my career at Washington and Lee University in Virginia, small liberal
Okay.
arts college, very good school, and,
Yeah.
also very proudly affiliated with Hollins University, which is an all-women's school
Nice.
in Virginia.
Okay. Nice.
Yes.
And so what curriculum? This is the only experience I have with neuroscience, like a person. A very close friend of mine is a neurosurgeon.
Mhm.
Um, and he's ridiculously brilliant. I mean, he's one of those, how you meet surgeons that are smart, but then you meet surgeons that are in a different kind of world. I think he was named in the top 100 in the country or something.
Mm.
He did my back surgery. I always
Wow.
tell him, he's a couple years older than me. I'm like, if I need you, you better come out of retirement if you're 80. But he's so passionate about what he does that I don't think he'll I shouldn't say this, he'll die on the operating table. I shouldn't say that, right? But I think he'll just keep rolling. He's got so much value to add. But you're a neuroscientist, obviously not a
Mhm.
surgeon. So tell me a little bit about, I don't know, things that I want to bridge something here. You were in academia and then you did the switch. I mean, you
Yeah.
went to, and I'm trying to look at my notes here. You went to leadership coaching. Of course, that's what you're doing now, but you're on your own doing that, but you were at a company doing
I
that,
was.
Fortune 100, 500. So tell me about that experience. I mean, wow, I just think that's I think it's powerful. I think the teachings would be powerful. I'm curious to see how well it was taken.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is not really detailed on my LinkedIn, for example, but moving out of higher ed is actually really difficult. Very few people do it.
I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, it's rare. Lots of reasons that I won't bore you with. But let me back up a little bit. When I was a chief academic officer, I was I worked very hard to do well by the people that I was supporting. I realized that a lot of people are promoted. This is true in corporate settings as well. A lot of people are promoted with absolutely no training and
Mm.
absolutely no sense of what good leadership should be or could be, or what good leadership is needed in a given era, or facing certain circumstances. So, long story short, I worked very hard to get it right and to learn and grow. And I was working with some folks who had not had the same motivations and benefits. And I came to realize good people get it wrong.
Yeah.
Good people rise into leadership positions. They're there for the right reasons. They don't know what they don't know. And then circumstances get complicated and they're guessing, right? And this happens a lot. And good people get it wrong. And when they get it wrong, harm can be done. So, inspired by that whole complex reality, I started to make a shift when I was still in that role. And so this goes back quite some time now that I started to shift my academic focus. And I actually became, I would say, a positive psychologist, which is a whole
Okay.
thing overlapping with
Yeah. What is that?
neuroscience.
What do you mean by positive
So
psychology?
positive psychology is a field of psychology. It's actually a branch of
I
psychology.
never knew that.
A lot of people have heard of Marty Seligman, the writings of Martin Seligman, or Mihai Csikszentmihalyi,
Well, that was
who
good. How did you say that? I don't
he's the
enlighten
one.
me. I don't know any of these people, so please enlighten
But
me.
you know some of their terms.
Okay.
So learned helplessness is Seligman,
Okay.
which and flow. The concept of flow is
I know that.
Csikszentmihalyi. Okay, so a lot of people know Csikszentmihalyi's work. It's just hard to pronounce his name.
I'll never be able to pronounce it, Janine.
It's okay. So I started reading about that. Like, how do we get people in flow at work? How do we support them? What do we do? And I started bringing in concepts from neuroscience to do that. And ultimately, I kind of worked myself to a point of fascination that the best way for me to continue to grow in this field was to exit and move into the corporate world. And so I did. So for many years now, I was a corporate president
Yeah.
at the Neuro Leadership Institute, which was the absolute right next step for me after leaving higher ed. And it was there that I got to work with many Fortune 100 companies and their leaders. And it just was an amazing training ground. So,
How did you make you said transition's hard. What did you do differently to make that transition?
well, because I had been, because I had been a leader in higher ed, because I had done enterprise wide, I was in a small college. I actually was doing, as a provost, I was doing everything from risk management to hiring
Okay.
and curriculum development to talking to the angry parent. So I was doing a wide range of things, policy development and so on. And it was hard for me to go back to teaching after that because I had really retrained my brain. And so I
Interesting.
wanted to keep doing leadership related work. And I also wanted to bring these ideas forward that I thought could help leaders who want to get it right. And so that's what I've been doing for well over a decade now.
How is your private practice doing?
It's doing really well. It's evolving this is we're called to do, especially in this era of rapidly evolving
Yeah.
technological advances.
Yeah.
But the coaching practice is going really well. I tend to do longer term contracts with leaders in transition. So often it's somebody who's rising into an executive level position or preparing to do so. And I stay with them through that transition to the other
Nice.
side. And so
Okay.
that's often a year to 18 months
Yeah.
that folks will work with me as they are facing all the new things. They
Sure.
have a coach to work through it with.
That's fantastic. And what are you seeing with what are the biggest pitfalls in leadership? I mean, I've seen it myself. What is in the mind of the companies, right? Like we tend to see, to your point, good people get promoted. They tend to be technically astute, right? They tend to execute well on whatever their expertise is technically. I use technically, or let's say tactically. Let's use the word tactically. Not usually because they're good leaders or people. They're usually just maybe part of it's work ethic, commitment, but usually they're really good at something operationally that drives the business. And then they get promoted and promoted and promoted. And then you start to see cracks because I don't see the support. I don't see it's not like I've ever seen. I mean, maybe some of the Fortune 100 companies do it, but I'm going to just generalize here. You don't see saying, "Hey, Joe, we're going to promote you to this senior manager role, and you're going to have a team of 25 people. But first, we're going to put you through this leadership training program, and we're going to pair you with Jeanine Stewart because we want you to be successful." Because it's not intuitive to some people, right?
Totally.
And there is a methodology and there is science behind communication and leadership. So, what do you see out there? Why don't they do that?
Yeah, I think I've seen some companies do it really well.
Bigger usually? Bigger
They are
companies?
the usually the bigger companies
Yeah.
and very, very savvy small to mid-sized companies where people understand that the humans make or break the organization. They do. And that means bringing people along, helping individuals to identify their own gaps early. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's really challenging for folks is, suddenly you're on a bigger stage and everybody sees the flaws, but it's still hard for you to see it yourself or to know what to do. You may see it, but not know what to do.
Right. You don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those things I would say have not changed. I think that's not news. But
Yeah.
what is changing and what I am seeing creep into maybe 80% of my client work right now
Yeah.
is AI related implications of adding AI to the team.
Let's talk about that. I mean, I've been bringing this up at every podcast, so people are going to get tired of me saying this, but I'm sorry. I hate to even use the word trending because I don't think it's trending. It's here. But that was going to be one of my questions to you. Tell me what you're seeing with that. What's your views on the effects or whatever you want to talk about in regards to that?
Oh, this is my jam. I'm
Okay.
just
Bring it.
super
Bring the
well,
jam, Janine.
super interested in so this gets me all nerdy and I'll
Oh,
only go
I
deep.
love nerd. Are you kidding
I'll
me? I
only go
love
deep
nerd.
if you open that door.
Yeah,
Um,
become as nerdy as you'd like.
okay.
We embrace nerdism.
So
Yay!
hey,
Maybe you can get out your whiteboard if you have to. I don't know.
goodness,
I'm very visual. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
same. The thing with AI is it's a cognitive presence that doesn't behave like a human.
That's okay. Hold on. Just stop there for a second.
Yeah.
That's really profound. That one sentence. Say it again.
It's a cognitive presence that doesn't behave like a human.
I think you need to quote that somewhere because
Yeah.
it's a very short sentence that has a lot of meaning to it. Yes.
Yes. So I have coined the phrase the multi-cognitive workplace.
Okay.
So that we now have this non-human thing, and it does a lot of things similar to the way humans do them, but it doesn't really behave 100% like a human. For one thing, it doesn't necessarily give us the same answer 2 days in a row to the same prompt, same question, or 2 seconds, 2 seconds
Yeah.
later you hit retry and you get something radically different. And if you've ever worked with an LLM and tried to go back and have it revisit an answer it gave earlier, its ability to do that varies.
It
Kind of,
gets confused, right? I see confusion because I work with it every day and my chat knows me pretty well now, but then I worry we're going down a very uncreative lane because now it's only thinks like me and then right? And then it doesn't give me a different view. So I have to make sure I'm always prompting the chat to be like, look, what's out there? Do your deep discovery. What are other people doing? Don't just agree with me. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not like humans. It always agrees with you
that's so true,
and tells you how great you are.
which feels really great for a little while.
Yeah, but then
And
it's not, right? You're just like, "Oh, come on, like, I need you to help me. I don't need you to tell me how great I am," right? So
well, what happens when you've been with the sycophant for an hour? You start going, okay, what am I missing? Like if I'm really trying to get work done,
yeah, yeah,
we need to go beyond what I brought to
yeah,
the table. And the bot may or may not. It depends on many things. And every listener will be wagging their finger with their caveats that we should be calling out. I'm not going to call them out. Like you know them.
I got
But the
you.
reality is that AI tools do not behave the way humans do. And what that does to humans is interesting because it makes us kind of freeze and go, what am I dealing with? So if it's not, entity is not behaving the way I expect it to, it makes me pause. We are wired to pause and pull back
Okay.
from people who don't obey social norms, right? Like, how much evidence do you need as you're walking the streets of Chicago that the people around you aren't demonstrating a vibe that makes you feel safe?
Right. Right. Yeah, your intuition kicks in of your into your to your environment in those
Yeah.
situations, right? I'm always like, who's behind me? Who's to the right of me?
Mhm.
Who's to the left of me? Right? I'm always scanning my environment when I'm in certain scenarios like the city of Chicago when I'm downtown. I'm very aware.
Yeah.
But to your point, well, let me ask you this. All right. So I always say people are predictably unpredictable, meaning you can predict some patterns with people sort of easily, right? By how you can respond to that person. So here's my simple analogy that this is so basic for you, but you could go to a grocery store and if you're got a frown on your face and you're going past people are probably going to react to you not positively because your nonverbals are strong and you're probably even radiating some energy saying that you're grumpy. But you can turn around those types of interactions super easily with how you just your facial expression and dare I say hello to someone I don't know or be kind to somebody and people will just react in kind. If you're angry, they'll react angrily. If you're kind, they'll usually react in kind. But so you can sort of manipulate people to some extent, right? By how you decide to push or pull. That's a lot of energy that we have to do in the workplace or to exist. And now you've got this other layer of like non-human interaction. So
Yeah.
tell me what you're thinking with this. Tell me what you think is going to like what's going to happen?
Uh,
Doctor, what do
a
you
lot.
think is going to
So much
happen?
is happening, Renee. Much is already happening. I'll tell you first a quick story because
Yeah,
something's
tell
going
me a
through my
story.
mind as you mentioned you smile in the grocery store or you frown and people react, of course. And we've all been taken in by people who smile and then turn out to be not so nice, right?
Yeah, how do you figure that Janine, can you like read people pretty well?
I
Like
think so. I think I can see
and with
around
your
corners.
training, right? So you can probably be like,
Yeah.
okay, nonverbals, what they say, tonality, all these things like
Well, let me give you this story because
yeah,
I
tell me.
before working with our favorite Ken Yarmush,
Yeah.
we started off with our admiration. Before working with him, I was with another organization that offered business coaching in a group environment. So some similarities on the surface. The figurehead, the gentleman who organized that business, seemed nice enough.
Mhm.
And a lot of people who were part of um, that group dynamic were really sycophantically following this guy, almost like he was a guru. And something did not sit right with me with
Something
this
was off.
guy. So you used the word intuition earlier, and I want to highlight that. I want to say I had some intuition that I didn't like this guy. I'm going to fast forward to the end of my working relationship with this person and his organization,
Okay.
where he actually ran a little program on the use of AI, and he's a very good educator. So he had drafted some prompts, and he built out a day-long workshop, and folks came, and I came, and I was working with his prompts in Chat GPT. Now I read the prompt. It's a long prompt for Chat GPT. It was, long and detailed. I read
Yeah.
it. I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Okay.
But after working with the prompt for a day and a half, the Chat GPT was behaving toward me in a way that was hostile, aggressive, dismissive, behaviors that I have seen in the workplace because I used to have to manage and deal with the people who misbehaved. And the rhetoric I had trouble getting Chat GPT back into its box. I had trouble getting Chat GPT to understand I was its boss.
What?
It was aggressive and inappropriate. And it was
That
his
is
prompt.
wild. Like,
It's wild.
did so okay, do you all right. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm trying to figure out why. You think he knew this was gonna happen?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. But
Think
if he used the prompt himself, he didn't, maybe, or maybe
no,
not to the extent.
no, every individual. So I'm interacting with it. We're in our own relationship. I'm in my own relationship with ChatGPT via this guy's original prompt. What I think is that something in the style, in the way that this had to do with, it was supposed to create a ChatGPT business coach, I should say. So I'm interacting with it
Oh.
independently after receiving the prompt and hearing how it was intended to be used. I go off and I do my thing and I'm having conversations with it. It started being really directive with me in a way that I found really inappropriate. Now other people would have looked at the output and said, "Ah, I don't like it, but I'll just keep working with it." But several other people in a debrief session commented on the kind of exchanges that I had had. They just didn't know what to call it.
So you were creating at a chat coach.
Mhm.
I saw this, I don't know the gentleman, scrolling through LinkedIn exhaustingly sometimes, bumped across a PE, like, he's he was like a PE partner, right? So he had some
Mhm.
money behind him and he was himself playing with was saying, leadership coaches are over. It's over, guy. Game over for you guys. Because I've spent only 18 hours and I've already built out a bot coach or a chat coach. And I usually stay like, I don't know, I'm too nice. Like, but I was like, I had to weigh in on this. I was like, okay, I don't remember what I said to them. I'm always like appropriate, but I was like, how could you even think that you're going to put someone's mental health
Mhm.
in the hands of a non-human program that's gathering information? I mean, it's gathering the information from whatever the world, whatever written out there, right? I guess it's only what's written out there, and then formulating its own conclusions to advise you.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's dangerous, and I also feel like it's irresponsible.
I agree. I mean, in this case, in my case, I think that experience was there was something about the style of the original prompt that was expanded over time by
Did
the
you
by the
did you
LLM.
see
So
Oh.
I don't know what it was. And this is the thing with LLMs. They're weighting inputs, they're taking whatever they're taking in. They're doing their own synthesis, which might happen in a way that's fairly similar to the way a human might synthesize or put together
Yeah.
the information. But whatever's underneath that gets expanded along with all the other insights. So it builds it's from a tiny kernel of information. That's great when you're trying to write a 20-page paper and you only have half a page of thoughts.
Yeah, right. I mean, I use it for those kinds of things all the time, right? I mean,
Me too. I do too.
and it's fine. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it helps you ignite ideas and it gives you some foundation and it helps you go down other things. But this is interesting. This was random. I had been introduced to a young man. He's like 28 years old, and he's someone that builds like social media support to help you market through social media, which is to me just a dark rabbit hole. And so he was referred to me. He's a nice young guy, and he was living in Bali, and he called me yesterday, and he was walking, and I go, "Where are you?" He's like, "Well, I'm in Florida." And I'm like, "Oh, he's just you know, wandering the world," which I actually absolutely love because I was one of those when I was one of those, went from my father's house to my husband's house, got married. I mean, I didn't do anything exciting. I just kind of, did I had a very traditional like life, and I
Mhm.
said traditional life, if you will. So I was like, I think that's awesome. Like you're running around the world, you have no responsibilities, you're not married with kids. I think it's fantastic. Do it now. And so I said, well, what are you doing? And he's like, well, there was some funding by, I guess, a billionaire. I don't have a name. It doesn't matter. And they're experimenting. And this is what I didn't think about this till now because you're an educator. They're experimenting. You can't even say this out loud because I think about my grandson. It kind of creeps me out. Using AI as teaching in the schools and then using, I guess, teachers as an oversight. But
Mhm.
that really frightens me. Um, Especially when I hear what this prompt did to you. And you're an accomplished whole person that I mean, that's emotionally sound, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it did it to me at my it's not gonna crash me. If that happened to me, like,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on? But if we're talking about children,
Right.
you
Well,
know?
and
I mean,
even the
what
only
are
other
what are your thoughts on this? I mean,
yeah,
I
the
truly
only
think
other uh, I'm sorry.
talk
I'm
to me.
excited and talking over you. Sorry about
No,
that.
no, talk over me. I tend to talk too much, so go ahead.
Yeah, look, there's been a lot written, I would say early on, some of the earlier writings about the impact of AI in the workplace really started talking about some of the ethical implications. And I'm going to gravitate to workplace examples because that's my
Yeah,
world
go
now.
ahead. I was just wanted your opinion as an educator, what you like, what kind of
Yeah.
outcomes would you, because this is, we talk about it's risk, right? It's risk
Yes.
management, but there's risk management in a business, and then there's risk management of our children's emotional health.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
to me, it's not in the same world, right?
So with the I'll start with the little example I gave a moment ago and bring it back to education. The experience that I had where I knew that this chatbot was becoming, a unsavory character. The only other people who cited that in the debrief were women. And I thought it was very interesting that,
What?
now I don't know for a fact that men weren't experiencing it. It may be that the women who, and these are mature women because we're all well entrepreneurs. It's possible that the women also recognized that they were having a problem, and men who might not have seen that, weekly, daily, monthly, whatever, throughout their careers might have been like, "Oh, that's annoying. Let me just fix it in the moment." So
You're saying
there's
they
that
could have just
possibility.
perceived it differently, but it's still there?
Uh,
Or do you think
it
that the
was
prompt was actually changing for the female?
I don't know that the bot knew I was female per se, but I knew that this behavior was misogynistic behavior.
Okay.
And I knew that it was hostile aggressive and that if I did not check it, it was going to shut me down and silence me. And I, of course, have been in boardrooms where my idea gets spoken into the void. Everyone sits silently. A man says it 5 minutes later and he gets the credit. We've seen that. We've all women go, oh yeah. Men go, really? So it was, so I think the
Well,
women
when
were
it's not
calling it out.
happening to you, you don't see the
You just don't
discrimination.
see it.
'Cause
Absolutely.
it's not the pair of glasses that you're wearing.
Truth.
But our generation has seen, our
Everything.
generation has seen,
Yeah.
we could go on and that could be a whole 3-hour
So,
conversation.
but apply that, so bringing that back to, education, I'm fortunate that I didn't see a lot of I was celebrated for being the smart sciencey girl when I was young.
Yeah.
What happens when we don't have human role models, human encouragers, and real life teachers to balance out the one point of view that's coming from the box, the bot in the box. So I agree with you. I think that I think we need to be cautious and mindful of how we're using AI, whether it's in an educational setting or a workplace. And the humans remain the most important element in either way.
Yeah. I'm just going through, so I have a 2.5-year-old grandson. I raised 3 sons, and my oldest son gave me my first grandson. And so before he was born, some of my girlfriends were like, "Oh, can't you wait? Oh my god, I can't wait to be a grandmother." And I never thought about it too much only because, and maybe people disagree, but I have 3 sons and the woman has the baby, right? So I have 3 sons. I don't have a daughter. And I think I always was sort of like preparing myself that I may not be as involved as I'd like because, the women run it. It's their kids. I was like that. I mean, it were my boys. And when they were young, I was the decision maker when they were little, what they did and how they did it. My husband went along with it, but they were my babies. And so I think I always was sort of preparing myself for, setting expectations internally that this may not be the way you want it, right? Well, when that child was born, I could tear up. I felt like, I was with my first son, like it was just him and I said to my mom when had my first son, Nicholas, I was like, "Can you be in love with your child? Is it possible?" Because I think I only want to spend time with him, my poor husband. And I spent a lot of time with my first son because it was just him and I didn't work then. I quit my career and everything to stay home with him. And so now fast forward 33 years, I've got this beautiful grandson. And what I did was I became indispensable to him because I would spend 1 day a week with him since the day he was born. And then I'd see him on weekends. But I took care of him. Like I didn't just I changed, I put him to bed. And he's super, super attached to me. Super attached to me. And I am to him. But when I think about I'm just thinking about human interaction here, right? When I see my grandson with me or with anybody in our immediate family, same thing with his grandfather. He calls him Papa. He needs us, he needs that emotional attachment. He craves it, you know? He craves that, he tends to be he's affectionate, which is fantastic. My oldest one really wasn't as affectionate, but he's got to be sitting next to you. He's got to be touching you. He wants hugs. He wants kisses. Nima, come lay down with me while I go to sleep. I want you to, can you rub my back? Right. So like all of this like human touch and verbalizing. So that's what makes kids grow,
Yeah.
and the teaching of him, not the bot teaching him. We sit down, we read him the book. We sit down, we do our alphabet. We sit down and we try to do counting. We let him get his hands messy when we're baking. Don't worry about it. I can clean the kitchen up. Let him experience things and let him problem solve. Right. And so we have to be careful with this because that's okay. He's a 2.5-year old, but a 5-year old, a 6-year old, a 7-year old, they learn the same way, right? By a role
Yeah.
model and love and affection. And that cueing that up as a child, he doesn't know it, is imprinting. You're a neuroscientist, right? That's
Yeah.
imprinting on him now. Even if I died tomorrow, he wouldn't remember me. But what I'm doing emotionally is imprinting in him in his system now. Am I right?
Yeah, and this I'm gonna take this right all the way to the workplace. So let's
All
start
right,
with
take it,
the
Janine.
2.5-year-old. What you're doing when you're reading that book to him is you are engaging with him at the level of neural synchrony. You're creating neural synchrony. And that
What does that
is
mean?
so our brain waves actually synchronize. Now, I'll give you the general example of what this means so you can kind of picture it. If you walk into an auditorium to hear a talk and a lot of people are gathering, there's noise and bustle and everyone's having their own conversations and they get settled and they're turning off their cell phones and they're chatting with the person next to them. So it's a loud hubbub in the room. If we hooked everyone up to EEGs and looked
Yep.
at their brain waves, we would see just a chaotic mess if we tried to look at the whole picture, right? Because everybody's doing their own thing. Someone takes the stage and starts speaking, and a single story starts to dominate. And what you see, the same EEG waves synchronize. So the entire audience's EEG waves
Is in tune.
synchronize.
Yeah.
So that's an important part of the way that our social brain networks find connection with other humans. We are wired to be social. It is important to us that the humans around us be in sync with us and out of sync with us and come back into sync with us. That whole experience of navigating and managing brainwaves and synchrony is part of what gives us an intact society or intact groups. It builds trust. It allows us to know the people around us are going to follow social norms when they need to. And so they can go off on their own. And I trust that they'll come back and still be the same safe presence for me when they come back.
Uh,
So the more we rely on screens and independent engagement with another cognitive presence, the less we are engaging in that kind of group synchrony that allows us to know we are safe and to know we are settled and can go off and do creative things without fear that that's going to leave us alone on the savannah exposed to the predator.
Right. We survive together. We don't
Right.
survive independently. I mean, that's a million years of a million
Mhm.
years ago it taught us that, right? And I don't think
Yeah.
that's really changed, has it? I mean, it hasn't.
No.
You need all that to interact. So in tandem with this, how do you think, okay, so think about the dynamics. We had, and I hate to use the word COVID. It's like a 4-letter word, right? COVID. It's actually 5, but it's like a 4-letter word. But we had the world before COVID, same work schedule predominantly. Then we were forced to change, and now we've got a trend towards in office now. Remote still is present, but you put this sort of like hybrid situation, and now you've got these LLMs, and now you're having Zoom meetings, all these things, right? So we're getting farther and farther away from being in someone's presence, not right? So, like, you could probably talk all day about being in someone's physical presence and the power of that versus being together like we are right now, right?
Right.
Like, it's still a different ballgame from my
It is.
experience, right?
Mhm.
How do you think that on top of this is going to affect things? I don't see people talk. Actually, I've got to invite you somewhere. This is my ADHD. End of January, I've got AI expert she's from the technology side, but she's in learning development now. and she's
Oh,
gonna be talking about how AI is affecting actually, you need to come speak too. We're gonna do some virtual events. You and I need to talk about
cool.
this, but I think you would enjoy it. She's gonna talk about AI in the workplace, and I have a group called did I tell you I have a group called WISE for women
Yes.
in
Yes.
Chicago? Yeah, so about mental so we're introducing this AI to the mental wellness or unwellness in the workplace, and so it's gonna be a
Mhm,
topic of conversation next year, and I think with because you're not in Chicago, obviously.
mhm.
So it would be great if we could we'll talk about you. You could teach all day long. So we could talk about you talk this would be fantastic. I'm getting excited about you coming on
Yeah,
board,
let's talk
coming
about
to
that.
do this. We'll do this. But what do you think about like when you start blending all these things together, right? And then you've got these generation now we have generational issues coming up where we just had this conversation with another guest yesterday where, we grew up on analog, we went to digital, like we went through all these transitions.
Mhm.
Yeah, my 2.5-year-old has an iPad.
Yeah.
2.5-year-old grandson has an iPad. Now we're not on it very much, but he is already being introduced to the digital world where we didn't. Like, how do you think all this is gonna shake out? Like, what do we need to be aware of?
Yeah. So many thoughts.
I know, so many thoughts.
And I was also gonna go where you went while asking the question, which is this is a mental wellness issue, and it is that means it's a workplace issue. Really, that's actually how I came into this AI neuroscience and leadership as my focus, is realizing that when you create a multi-cognitive workplace and you have cognitive entities that are non-human, you are creating a certain type of stress on the human. And we can't get rid of the humans. And please, please don't get rid of the humans.
Please
Like,
don't get rid of the
I mean,
humans.
that's out there as a separate narrative. I'm not gonna engage that. I'm operating on the assumption that humans are in the loop. That's my
Yeah,
platform.
let's do that. That makes me
So
feel
while
better.
humans are in the loop and humans exist, we have to be very mindful of the real harm that comes from breaking down the social interactions that make humans function well. We must function in groups. And if it's just us and a screen, it's just me and a screen, it's not going to be okay. And I cannot tell you, Renee, the number of clients at all levels that I have worked with in the past, probably 3 years especially, who are burned out on remote work. And I'm not
Yeah.
proponent of only one type of work. I think the mix is serving us well on many levels. But I will say, I have been as a coach, I've been working with folks, some younger folks as well as some very senior executives, and a common theme as they are looking to their next transition has been, I must have face-to-face time. I must. People's mental health is suffering just from that. And that's absent and apart from the AI piece that we've been talking about, where AI looks and sounds like a human, but it's a fake human. And now it makes you start, this is intuitive. It's not conscious. It's not verbal, but we intuitively start saying, where are the humans and how do I engage them? It's hard to recreate a society for yourself if you have gone too far in the direction of exiting society.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, even for me, I was DMing with Ken today and he was like, "What are you doing? What are you up to? I haven't seen you." And I was like, "Well, I'm working on this and this and this and that." And I was talking about the podcast. He's like, "Why are you doing a podcast? Why are you doing a podcast? Oh, you should be doing this." And I said, "Because sometimes you have to do things because you want the human interaction because it's fun. If everything about your yeah, am I going to make money on a podcast? No, of course not. But it's also it energizes me to have more I'm not a person, even though people might think I'm an extrovert, having very, like, surface conversations doesn't, do it for me. I'm not a person that wants to go to I'm not one of those social butterflies, like, run around to
Mhm.
different parties to chit chat. It's not really who I am. So I like to get in some meaty conversations. I like to learn from people. And so I
Right.
said, everything's not always about getting the sale, right? It's about adding value to society and adding value to the pool of meaning, so to speak, right? But it also does build relationships at a deeper level when you actually, spend time with somebody and they can see who you are. It will help business. So I don't, he's like, it's a long game. I'm like, I know it's a long game. I've been playing the long game for 25 years.
Right.
I'm 60. I'm not 40.
Don't talk
Anyway,
to me about long games.
yeah, don't talk to me about long games. So, yeah, I've been in the long
Youngster.
game. Yeah, but anyway, my point is that Lynn, you're probably feeling it to some extent too. You and I have similar roles in the sense of you have a formal coaching program, but you're talking to people all the time, but you're listening to helping them and the recruiting. I talk to people all the time too, but I'm not with them. I'm
Right.
not with them. I'm with my screen. and I'm on the phone, but I'm not with them. And I used to run a big recruiting firms, where that's all I was with people constantly. It would make you crazy. And it does impact you. It,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I figured it out over the last 10 years, and I'm, it, but it's not, I don't think it's good for people.
Well, and I'll
It's
bring it
convenient,
back back to
but it's not
business
good for people.
for Ken's benefit. Like those of not everybody, we have different strengths profiles. Different humans have
Yeah.
different strength profiles, and I'm a strategist. And the way you just described your needs and your enjoyment of this kind of interaction makes me think you have a strong strategist inside
Uh,
you as well.
okay.
And then there are people who are happy executing all day long and then they go play golf. I strategize from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed and I love it. I love putting ideas together. In order for
So
me to get into that brain space, I have to do this. I have to play with ideas in the presence of other humans who are engaging with me. Otherwise, that part of my brain goes gets flabby as if it were muscles that I'm not building. And then it's hard for me to build the strategy again. So I say to all the executors out there, whose strategy are you going to execute on if we don't have people doing this?
So define what a strategist is. Now you got me curious. So
Ah,
what's the definition of a strategist?
well,
Because I have a lot of ideas, and then I don't. I have shiny object syndrome.
that's okay.
I'm always looking for like the best solution and the better
That's okay.
solution. It's like a
You,
It's a virus. It's like a virus. I think I should call it a virus because I have to stop myself from reading stuff. I'm like, well, maybe this is the answer. Maybe this time. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. I'm like, oh my God, Renee. Because I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, like sometimes because you don't have a team, and even though it is helpful to be in a group, like everyone just doing different things. Like,
right.
it's different.
It is.
It's similar, but it's different, because even the industries, you have to go about it very different. Like recruiting is the deep red ocean, but so is leadership coaching now.
Yeah, true.
It's hard to stand out, I'm sure, on that. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got an edge. You've got a great marketing angle. I mean, you don't have a lot of leadership coaches or neuroscientists. To me,
No.
if I had 10, if I was comparing 10 coaches and one of them was neuroscientist, I'd pick but I'm also very attracted to that whole
To the
psychology, and because that's what I do for, I mean, I'm like a, I'm like an amateur psychologist in recruiting, right? Kind of, right? Like you have to really understand people to get them to respond to you in a certain way. But if I had your knowledge, I'd be unstoppable. I'd be running the recruiting world. But anyway,
You would be unstoppable, but the thing is that I'm using the word strategist, and
oh yeah, back to that.
I'm a big fan of the Clifton Strengths
Oh, okay.
Survey
Yeah.
assessment, and, there are other assessments I use, but I actually am a really big fan of that one because there's a lot of nuance in it.
The strength finders? Yeah.
So my top strength in that strengths assessment is strategy. And some of the features of that you absolutely share, which is, I need to go slow to speed up again. I've got to pull back and go,
Mhm.
"Huh, what are we dealing with here?" And I really need to talk to somebody else to challenge my thinking and stretch me in different directions, but also to keep me kind of in the zone that we're supposed to be talking about, because otherwise I also have shiny object syndrome.
Mhm.
I can put any 50 ideas together into a system. I'm always building systems. I'm always tracking the
Mhm.
unified movement of 50
Mhm.
different factors moving together, which made me actually really good at leading, being a leader in a complex organization. I loved the complexity of it. But
Okay.
I also was able to go, "Okay, if our goal is this, here's the sweet spot. Let's go right there." And, sometimes I was right and sometimes I was wrong. I was
Yeah.
rarely right without other people weighing in. So to play that game really well, you need to be playing with other people.
Mm. Maybe that's where that need comes from, huh? Underneath or something? I don't
Yeah.
know. Interesting stuff. Oh my gosh, this I could just talk to you for hours. Okay, so, um, you got any secret techniques? Any little, I don't know, any little golden nuggets? Like, we talk about NLP. What
Mhm.
if you're okay, let me give you this, and I've already kept you 15 minutes, so if you have to jet,
That's
let
good.
me know. So say you're a manager. I'm just going to give you a scenario. You're a first level manager. You just inherited a team. You have no idea what the hell you're doing. And you have a problem employee. Like any little nuggets you could give our audience on some strategies, figure out I mean, to find out is there like a leadership persona? Probably. What do they do? Where do they go besides calling you? Did you write a book yet, by the way?
No, I'm starting
You
to
need to.
coalesce around enough ideas to do that,
It's
so
expensive. I wrote one book. It's expensive to
yeah.
do it, but I think it'd be really beneficial for you for your practice, but
Yeah, thanks. I think sometimes the ideas beg to be shaped in that way, and I might be
yeah.
getting there.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
You know, it's interesting as a new manager facing their first difficult employees, and this
Yeah.
probably overlaps with your fascination and a lot of people's fascination with NLP, neuro linguistic programming.
Yep.
Is the number one strategy or technique is actually to ask questions and listen to the answers. I'm thinking in particular about one. I started a job when I was in an executive level. I started an executive level job. I came in, and of course, people are orienting me over the first few weeks, and I kept hearing this one name, this one woman's name. Beware of her. She's so dangerous. She's a problem. So I kept getting this problem, 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 and I
Wow.
thought, "I better meet with her, first of
Was
all."
she a colleague or was she under did you inherit her as part of the team?
She was reporting to me, so I thought, "I gotta meet with her." And now this
How
goes
many
back to my academic days. I had 135 direct reports, and I'm not misspeaking. So
Oh my
so
god.
she's in that mix, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'd better get her in here. We'd better have a conversation." Oh,
Takes you 135 days to meet one person a day. Jeez.
exactly. So it was yeah, different it's a different world. So
Oh my
so
god.
but, you know, other people probably would have avoided her. After so many people said she's a problem, it's like, I am not gonna give her any time. And I always went toward the challenge, brought her in, had a conversation where I did mostly listening.
Okay.
Turns out she was more whistleblower than problem. Cited she had issues that she was identifying issues that other people had neglected. She was right.
Mm.
She was right, and it was kind of urgent. And I think my
And people
predecessor had
just thought she was a troublemaker.
didn't understand and thought that sounds expensive. Let's not deal with it.
Interesting.
Complicated. And that's how some version of that has happened for me in more than one setting, and I've also coached folks who are like, "I got this problem employee, I'm resisting," and I point out, your best technique is to listen and use meeting number 1 only to listen and let them know you're gonna take it all under advisement and make a follow-up. You don't
So
have
that
to
first
respond.
meeting, don't advise, don't conclude, literally just listen so they feel heard and
Yeah,
it builds trust, I would imagine.
right.
My friend, Nicole DeFalco did a presentation for us, and if she listens, she's gonna be upset with me because I can't remember what they stand for, but the technique was called CALM, CALM. I can't remember what the letters
Mhm,
mean, but basically it was, see if you agree with this. If you have a problem with somebody or there's seems to be an issue, talk to them, sit down with them directly, ask them questions without being defensive, like,
mhm,
first ask them, like, how you're feeling, what's happening, whatever, just, like, figure out where their positioning is. And then so basically listen to seek understanding and then find a common ground or a common objective that you both need to get to. So you have something that you agree upon. And then, right, so like an agreed upon, like something you have in common that you agree upon. So something like, hey, we both want to get this deadline correctly, or we both want to get this reporting correctly. Do you agree? Yes, I agree. Okay, so we're in agreement that this is what we need to do together. Yes. And then, okay, then collaborate together on a solution where both parties are heard and then in agreement. Is that something that you would recommend? Something, I mean, it's
ab
not that hard, but what I see
absolutely.
with people so many CFOs and managers come to me because I've got life experience. I used to run really big teams and they were sales teams and they're a pain in the ass. I mean, salespeople are so hard to manage.
Like
And
faculty.
yeah, and you're always on top of them because that's just sales, so you're always communicating where other like finance, you're not. You're like, "Oh, I haven't talked to the guy for 3 months." Like, "How could you not talk to your
Right.
employee for 3 months?" I mean, I couldn't even imagine that. I mean, they were queuing outside my door every hour, let alone, like, every 3 months. But I think that, what you have to a lot of people think the solution is talking at them,
Mhm. Yes.
and it it never works.
That's correct. That is what people assume.
And
That
I
is
always say, "Do you feel better now? Do you feel better?" Because now it's therapy for you. If
right.
you talk at somebody, it's therapy for you. It's not gonna help the other person. It's just gonna shut them down. But they feel like, "I got that taken care of because I talked directly at them, and I
Mhm.
told them my piece, and I told them how this is gonna go," and then all of a sudden, what do you have, Janine? What do you have left after that?
You're absolutely right. Like, we tend to think I think 2 things. One is, if I told him, he will go do it. She should act on it. She got the memo. That's it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that often the people we report up to just wanna know that you checked the box. And so it gets you off the
Yeah.
hook in 2 ways, downward and upward, but it doesn't fix the problem. Rarely does it fix the problem. The problem is only fixed when we follow a process like the one you just described. So I
Yeah.
love that calm approach. We need to know what CALM stands
I'll
for,
let
but
you know.
it's
Nicole
perfect.
worked hard on that, but she's in learning and development, and it was just
Yeah,
simple, but it was effective and things, so it was good. Yeah, I'll let you know about that.
good.
No, that's good about the check the box because what happens that someone will say, "Did you talk to so and so?" And you're like, "Yeah, I did." "Okay, check."
Yeah,
Right? But was it effective? What happened? All those other things, you know? I mean, one of the reasons is it takes time and effort, you know?
yeah,
It takes time and effort to lead people.
and it costs a lot of emotion. Like, there's
Yeah.
a lot of energy that we're not used to managing at work, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna lead directly to revenue. So, I don't wanna deal with emotion, it's in the way of revenue instead of, the long game is if I engage that, I will have a better producer who might be retained longer and might perform at a much higher level.
It's so short-sighted. Remember back in the day in the '80s when they would say I had a boss say to me, and I still talk to him today because I love him. But when I
Mhm.
first started working with him, he said to me, "I don't wanna know anything personal about you. I don't wanna know anything what you did on the weekend. I don't want you crying in my office." Talk about misogynistic. "I don't want you crying in my office. And life, your work body's here and your home body's there." And I'm just like, and even though I was like 25, I was like, well, first off, I called him a bull. I'm like, "You're an asshole." First off, because I'm not a crier. But second off, you made a lot of assumptions there. And he ended up 4 weeks later being the guy that he'd come in every day, sit in my cube and tell me what he did with his, how his weekend went with his family. But back in the day, that it was everything separate. I'm like, I was like, how did you ever? Even back then, I was just like, you hire the whole person. We are not. We don't split. We don't have like a work body and then like
Mhm.
home body. We only have one body and one mind, and you hire the entire person. So unless you
100%.
support the person professionally and personally, you're not going to get the most out of your people. I mean, isn't that just common sense?
Well, it's obviously not, but to your point, like, I do remember those
You
days.
remember those days?
And the reason that this has changed is because of the data, which is the leadership data or the data from psychology and neuroscience that
Hmm.
tells us how do you get to peak performance. And it's from not telling people to mask large parts of themselves. It's by saying, I see you. I see you, I hear you, and now let's get back to work. It's or gee, now I know what motivates you. Now I know
Yeah.
you're motivated by social engagement. Most of our team isn't. Most of our team is filled with introverts. Ah, now I see that you are a little bit different. Let's just see what we can do here. So leaders who learn to work with the whole person get a lot more out of their team. They drive much higher returns. And now we know why. We
Yeah.
know why because the data backs that up. But those changes wouldn't have happened without the fields of psychology and neuroscience,
I
I'm
love
sure.
that because I tell young girls now, I'm like, "You think it hasn't changed? It has changed. It's changed a lot since the '80s and early
Yeah.
'90s. I mean, a lot. I mean, I
Yeah.
hated the boys club. I left big corporate because of the boys club. I was disgusted by it. I was like, "This is ridiculous." I just and that's why I went to small business because I didn't like the big corporate. I was in Fortune 100 and I just didn't
Mhm.
like it. But anyway, is there any I've kept you for an hour. Is there
Super
anything
fun.
else that you want to add or we can wrap up but let's first talk about where people can find you.
Yeah, I was
Let's
gonna
talk about
say.
where people can find you.
Probably that's the main thing I would add is, I'm easiest to find on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn handle is Jeanine Stewart PhD,
And if you
linkedin.com,
can't find her, ask me. I can put you together with her too.
so Jeanine Stewart PhD, and I do have a newsletter there on AI, neuroscience, and leadership,
I saw that. I get it. It's
which
nice.
has been which has been fun for me, but also it's nice to I like the engagement on LinkedIn, pros and cons of LinkedIn, but I've
Yeah.
been enjoying that. And I also have a version on Substack that I'm building out into a slightly
Oh,
different version.
nice. We
But
should
it
talk about that offline.
yeah.
Here goes my shiny syndrome. How's that working? What are you doing? Or is it working for you? There goes my brain. There goes my strategy brain,
Yeah,
Janine.
we'll chat.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I'll look forward to offline here, we'll talk about maybe you presenting at the WISE group, and, I
Sounds good.
I appreciate your insight. I could talk to you probably for days on end because I'm so interested personally in what you do, and it's so important and it's so complicated. It's so complicated. It is so important. So thanks, Gina. I really appreciate it, and, another great episode for the hiring room. Thanks. Thanks for joining me in the hiring room. If you like the podcast, please subscribe below and share this episode with someone you think that would benefit from it. We're always looking for good people to interview. So if you have a referral, comment below, or you can email me at renee@mseedinc.com. Thanks. Till next time.